It certainly is. Copper, silicone, silver.
Gotta love Thomas's suggestions. He's always just on it, eh?
Absolutely. And
That
welcome
rocks from
home.
Bulgaria.
Well, how's it going?
Good. How's everybody?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hello, who is this?
We got Hans back.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Famous or
Oh, I recognize you. You were on Bernie's stream.
Yeah, Woo Wednesday on a Thursday into Friday. Now we're back on Friday,
Back Saturday.
Awesome.
Nice.
Dude, we got the whole family here now. I love
lots
it.
of good info.
Das
On
Gut.
Yeah.
lots of good info. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Now that
I
we
got the
got
multimeters hooked up as
Hans.
well.
Hans can tell his story again about what he saw with at it was Nassim Haramine's Resonance Academy in Hawaii there. And then if you tell that story, it'll bait Jeremiah on for sure because, well, he's watching and has the link and definitely come
It's the
happily
same
about
story I always tell. So I was invited to the Resonance Project in 2013 on Kauai. It pretty much was a huge lecture series at a hotel. Nassim wasn't there until the last day. It was mostly Jamie Janover. But there were a lot of people there that brought their own devices. And one of them was this octagon-shaped scaffolding. It was like 3D printed, and it was wrapped with, fifth, I'm not sure the dimensions of the copper coiling, but it was wrapped and interwoven with this copper coiling around the entire scaffolding. And in the middle of it were the two trodes that came off of both sides of the wrapping, and they connected to what looked like the trodes for a 9-volt battery. And the dude plugged the battery in, and the thing lifted off the table, spun up. It created that auric light that's white but has every color involved in it for a fraction of a second because it was crackling, and then it dropped back down on the table. And so it's like, okay, this is laboratory bench. What can we do with much more voltage and larger specimens? And so it was very fascinating to see this.
You're gonna have to draw out some dimensions of it, what you remember, because you do give a little bit more detail each time.
It's about a little over 2 feet wide, 1.5 feet wide, wrapped. It was a octagonal shape and made out of some sort of polymer. This is why I thought it was 3D printed. But it was just a scaffolding, and so the wire was wrapped and woven around the entire thing, from what I remember of it.
Interesting.
That's really cool.
It shot up, so it was like levitating.
It shot up off the table about 4 or 5 feet, levitated, spit off colors, crackled, and then once the power drained from it, it landed back on the table with a spectacular crash. But the fact that it was this very minimally powered copper coil device, I thought was incredibly fascinating. So,
well, it was a torrid. It was like a vortex coil.
That's what I would expect. Yeah,
it's focusing the magnetic field into a small area.
Sure.
That has an effect on the atmosphere.
Would it create this kind of effect? I'm not.
Pressure.
This isn't my area of expertise. I just witnessed this thing.
It would create a pressure field.
Okay.
The light
that field would have barriers between, the pressure from above coming down, or all around, not just above. The pressure from all around.
Like a torrid.
Exactly. Creating your own pressure field.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask, if it was geometrically formed.
It's a very small field because it's narrow. It's focusing it in a very small point. That's where all the energy is.
So it doesn't need a lot of energy for lift, I presume, based on that.
The Schauberger thing, he uses displacement of mass.
Right.
When you spin the disc, it has, how do I say this? It's got less mass on one end because it's gradually adding mass to the other. And if you, in that way, when it spins, the mass ratio of the disc is not even,
Sure.
it's displacing, it's doing its best effort in displacing, the mass on the disc. It looks like the swirl.
Mike, if we all knew how it worked, we'd all be flying by now. So I get what you're saying, brother.
It's not a perfect swirl either.
We're working on it. You know what I mean?
I saw that device running on a video. You spin it, and it lifted up.
There's a TT Brown video that's very similar. It's a very different device, but it's very similar where it has this auric effect, lifts off the
I've
table.
seen another device.
And it was different colors.
I can't explain today.
Sorry, what?
It was different colors.
It's this. If you ever read Terry Pratchett's book, he calls it the color of magic, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's this Octavian color, but it's like white, but it has the hints of the rainbow in it.
It's white because of the hints of the rainbow,
right? Because they're all overlapping in light spectrum, which creates the bright white light.
Yeah.
So, no, exactly. So that's
very interesting.
That's what I've noticed with these devices. Anyway, sorry.
Was it like a bubble that you saw, or was it more of a toroid?
Myself?
Yeah, like
I didn't see any effect to it. It was just the device lifting up. But because it was this copper interwoven copper, it had this auric effect. That's the only way I can explain it.
Okay, fair enough.
Or a fraction, it was crackling and creating a static. I mean, static electricity has this similar light to it. So.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I play with it all the time.
Anyway, sorry, Mike. Go back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off.
There's this bird model toy thing. It's weighted very peculiarly, where all the weight is at the nose of the bird. But it's a full sculpture of a bird, right? And you put the tip of the bird in your finger, and it just floats right there. It don't fall down like it's
right.
Good.
Yeah.
So you can't find that in the U.S., but I've seen it, and I can't explain this, but it's displacing matter, or weight, or mass.
Or it's focalizing it into a point, which is
right.
Yeah.
You could do that with like 2 forks and a knife.
Correct.
Same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2 forks and a knife.
Yeah. If
that balance effect, and then you can basically balance 2 forks that are interconnected.
No, I'm talking about a whole bird, and I'm holding the nose of the bird here, and it's balancing on my finger.
Yeah, I know
it's not falling down. It's balancing on the nose.
Because the weight is distributed. The weight is where the wings are, and it's
not even slipping on my finger. I'm talking about
I had
the nose of the bird.
So I
it
know
doesn't
exactly.
slip at all. You try to make it fall. It doesn't fall.
Yeah, I know.
It's the oddest thing I've ever seen. I tried to. The person that I was visiting had one, and only one, and I tried to find out where she got it. It was from China somewhere.
You go to the dollar store, they have it. They have it at the dollar store.
Really? You're kidding me.
I swear to God, I've seen it.
No, I'd never go there. That's probably.
Yeah.
I got to go there.
Store. If I find it, I'll buy a bunch and, yeah.
You mean the bird thing that doesn't fall off your finger?
Yeah, it's like the beak.
It will balance on. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think Schauberger is using that right there.
So.
In the reverse, though,
recently has kind of admitted to some of Schauberger's technology being produced in Malaysia or the Maldives, I believe. And so it'd be interesting to see what actually comes out of this new collective, because Schauberger's work was amazing. The fish does not swim; it's swum. The bird does not fly; it's flown. This is a very fascinating concept, that it deals with dynamics, pretty much. Fluid dynamics of sorts. Anyway,
sure.
Like when you sail against the wind and you still go forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've swum with turtles. Turtles will just float there in the current. They're not doing anything, but I'm moving with the current, and they're not. And then they'll just do one paddle, one blade, and they're gone. And you're like, what? Shit, what did I just witness?
Barracudas. You ever seen barracuda move?
No. Turtles was the most fascinating
like a torpedo at high speed.
because you try and keep up with them, and they're just going, "Foop," and they're gone, and you're like, what? How is that even possible? But it is, because they're using, some sort of navigational buoyancy technique that we don't have, obviously.
Very cool. Schauberger was using 99-cent Thorbirds, huh?
Somehow he figured out to displace matter on a disk and spin it in a way that displaced matter would create lift. And it's not that complicated. It's just you got to get the displacement accurate and tune it correctly.
I don't know if it's matter. I think he was just charging it. It was just basically
no.
rotation
It was
for
a
big
disc,
charge.
no power. No power, sir. Zero. Just a disc.
Oh, you don't need a power source.
With blobs of solid brass shaped like a swirl of ice cream, kind of. No power. You'd spin it, and the weight it loses weight. For one, and you spin it fast enough, it comes off the table. Very interesting. He did a lot of things with water too.
So this is interesting because this gets into some of my research around Peru and Egypt, and so you have all these ancient sites that have these astronomically large, 50 to 70 to 80 to even 100-ton blocks that are being moved across waterways or through waterways or with waterways. And the question is, obviously, if you create a silt spew that's pressurized, you have something that can cut almost, if not more accurately than diamond. And so a lot of these ancient sites, strangely, are next to major water sources. And I've often wondered if there is a connection there with technology that we're not even considering today, because all of our technology is explosive based. And, in the past, they could have been using air, water, salt water. I mean, all sorts of things that we are just now trying to figure out. Oh, wow. Well, we've blown the planet up. Let's figure out how to rehydrate it,
Well, with the right system, you can use water as a ground wire.
As a what? Sorry?
As a ground wire.
Oh,
so
okay.
You can transfer energy between places long distances, providing you have the right high voltage and the right system operating. So if you're using like back EMF, which is like a negative form of energy, so they say, you can theorize to what it is. You could call it back electromagnetic force. You could call it the current from the system. Call it whatever you want. But I found a way where you can run it through a tube where the water acts as the ground line, or you can run it in a river. Now, in a river, you only get so far because it's not clean, and there's lots of different materials that are stopping that energy transfer, but it's pretty interesting. So I believe that the old systems literally used water to transfer energy between each site, and because of we could get into the theory of the pyramids being a whole power plant, of course, but that's just the theory.
Christopher Dunn's work is actually fascinating. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I covered Christopher Dunn on a chapter in Divine Science. His explanation of the pyramids is absolutely one of the most incredible from an engineering perspective. It made me realize, these hallways, they're not meant to be accessible,
No. Well, especially if you're in the subterranean, you realize that there is a massive amounts of water pouring through there. All the different elements in there are just washed away by water that's come up through the well shaft. And of course, you can't go down the well shaft. If you look at any of the diagrams, they don't tell you about the well shaft, but it goes down at least 3 different layers that have tunnels going off in different directions. And you can look down and go, oh, well, there they are. I've been there twice. So that's the most fascinating part of the pyramid, because you're deep, you're 500 feet under the bedrock. And when you climb down the dead-end shaft, it's about 65 feet to the end of it. It might be less, but it's only, a yard or a meter by a meter, and you're clawing your way across bedrock that's just chipped away. And if you don't have knee pads or anything, you're shredding your knees. But
Right.
the whole way down, the ceiling is it's like a half-inch layer thick of salt, and people have carved their names and the whole 9 yards into it. And it's like, where's this salt coming from? Right? It's like, what's up with the salt deposits? And then you get to the end of it, and it's cemented off, and there's a hole drilled through it. So obviously it's not dead-end shaft, but that's what they call it. But you're down there, and you stop, and you turn off your torch, and you're there meditating by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 tours I've been on, that's the first place I felt to once they opened it up after the King's Chamber. I'm going down there. I'll do the King's Chamber after, the Queen's Chamber after, but I usually want to go down there first. And I'll just sit down there for 5 to 15 minutes and meditate. And it gets so incredibly loud, but you're not hearing anything. It's all internal. It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Vibration.
Yeah.
Well, because you know why? Because you're in such a silent place.
Right. But it's just like,
Yeah, because you start hearing your biology now.
It's
You're in a silent place.
It's amazing. Especially after doing, toning.
You have to tune out your own heartbeat somehow.
So the King's Chamber tones at F, the box, or F sharp, the box tones at A. So if you're in the box and you're toning and everybody else in the room is toning, you're enveloped in this weird bubble, and you feel like you're having an out-of-body experience. That's the only way I can describe it. Plus, being in the King's Chamber, you're surrounded by that much thick granite. You don't feel the world around you. You feel like you're in the middle of a void in the universe. It's kind of, this is a machine. This is not,
I think I probably have to go there before I die.
Everybody should. I must make pilgrimage to Egypt. Do it, please.
Yes, we're definitely gonna
I'm gonna
go.
have to live
Mike.
long enough to get there.
Bernie and I have talked about this. We want to do a crew and get a bunch of us. I know people that do tours there, so we can definitely get a good good price and go to some amazing sites.
Yes,
we
are going to be doing that.
And get private access, and that's the key.
I'll send a coil with you. You turn it on, and I'll just
You
be
will
there.
bring the coil with you, Jared.
Turn it on. We just need to hold it in the air. It turns on.
That's what I mean. You got to open a door so I can come. I mean, what are we talking about?
Hey,
That'd be great. Hey, speaking of coils, if anybody's wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to rewind the small one so it's actually usable.
Now the gloves make sense.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. It's a long process. I use it.
A little more.
It's just a donut with the grooves. It's very hard to wind, but I do it as a meditation. It relaxes me trying to wind these things.
So it's this kind of winding, that was on that device. Obviously, it wasn't
a PoE coil.
Yes, this is a mini. This is a tiny one.
Yeah, the mini. You're making.
It's got 4 wires. Yeah, it's got 4 wires by Fowler, so we'll be able to do 2 channels.
What are you going to use?
So do you 3D print these and then wind them up, or?
Some people send me the frames. I actually printed this one a while ago using a service that I found locally.
Scored. Wow. All right.
Honestly, this I didn't expect to be this small, but it was a surprise. I screwed up. I'm like, oh, it's a mini. We'll run with it, guys. We'll make it work.
Nice.
Yeah, you're in a room full of coil builders.
Yeah.
There should be on the.
I ordered one online.
Scale function.
It's funny. After I went to the movies with my cousin on Sunday, we went and saw Alien Romulus. The 3 of us, my good friend George, my cousin, and I.
Good.
Man, people must be deaf these days. It was so loud in that theater. Oh my god.
It was actually I've been in the theater before that I seen Romulus at, and it was pretty well mastered. I think it was the track. Whoever produced that movie is a good movie, but they made some parts really. Great. Yeah, they made some parts really loud though. Sometimes they don't pay attention to the DB.
This is every movie. I have a home theater, and it's the same thing. I got to turn it up and adjust it every time I watch the movies. But it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was an amazing movie. I went into it, with a little bit of hesitation. I'd seen some spoilers, but I'm like, I'm gonna just see it for what it is, and create my own ambience around it. But
So I got a quick question, and then I got to take off. It was awesome talking to you, by the way, Hans.
Yeah, thank
you.
Have
you seen anything like this inside the pyramid?
Not inside pyramids, no.
No?
What about like the Mandelas? It kind of looks like it could be a Mandela.
It definitely looks like some of the Mandelas. That is very nice work, Gerald.
I know. I like how he has it preserved in that resin.
That's super
Yeah,
nice.
that
That's
way.
what you need to do.
Is it just sitting in it, or is it sunk into it?
No, it's sunk into it. It's
Okay.
part of the coil itself.
All right.
That
Does
way
it-
it can't
does
be
that-
torn apart.
Does that affect any output?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Gives me a little bit extra. And if
We're
you
gonna
can
have
see
to.
bubbles in here that I've just recently found, the lighting may not allow you to see it. I'm not sure. Oh, can you see all those
If you
little
fire the nut, will it heat the resin up and crack it? I mean, there is a
No, it doesn't get hot.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it runs cold, this system. It's a little different than most.
We're
It
gonna have
has
to get
Not
you
my
to
area of expertise.
nano coat it next time before doing the
Where I was
epoxy
going with the
seal.
cousin story real quick is he's got a bench in his uncle's basement, or my uncle's basement, that has 2 Tesla coils at both ends, and they use it for healing. And he's like, dude, come over and use the table again.
nice.
So,
Oh no, don't.
Nathan's
don't
a
talk
Tesla
about
coil guy. He's good at it. He's got like 3 or 4 in the background sitting there.
No, over that side.
well, we talked about this briefly on
Nathan's got
the
Tesla
last
coils hidden in
shows.
holes.
But yeah, no,
Everywhere.
I'm now tempted to go back over because I
Got
remember the
thousands of
first
Tesla
time I
coils.
used the table. It was amazing. So.
Yeah, don't talk about any medical stuff on here. We're not.
Oh no,
endorsing
we're all
any-
good.
Get in trouble for that.
Oh, Hans
Yeah.
well of
I got
nowhere.
like 50 solenoids in.
I'm talking about a
boxes.
table that I lay on. That's
Yeah, massage table, guys. It's a massage table.
Speaking of which, I'm going to
Put
go
on
take
a little discretion there. Viewers,
I'll see you later, Gerald.
so helpful.
I'm going to go get a massage, okay? So
Yeah, no, massage
guys-
sounds good right now.
you guys have a great night. It's been awesome.
Happy
Thanks
Labor
for
Day.
bringing me
Much
on.
love and
Good
respect,
meeting you, Hans. Hopefully we'll talk again.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks,
You too.
Gerald.
Thanks.
Later, Bernie. See you, Marty.
Bye.
Lulu. Bye, Lulu.
I've been for the past hours like carpooling kids, from the mall to their houses and their friends, and like it's just. But I've been listening to the show. I've been cutting in and out. Yeah.
Glad to have you.
I've tried shows from the car. I was driving from Portland down to Shasta, and wow, it was cutting in and out. It was kind of crazy. I had to go somewhere that had a Wi-Fi or just sit in their parking lot.
Yeah, but finally,
So
they all left the house. They all are. They're all like, yeah, I've got the place to myself.
if you can
Nice.
see that, this is the
It
problem with
begins.
doing these
Nice.
donut coils. I try to use UV light glue, but I don't have it today. I use super glue, and see, I got some of the glove stuck to the wire there.
Yeah.
If you're ever trying to do this, anybody, I do recommend UV light glue because it's easier to work with.
Nice.
Wouldn't you wrap it
That actually
before
happened
you
to me once.
glued it? Couldn't you wrap it tight enough so that you didn't need the glue?
You could, but honestly, you have to be very careful because one wrong move and you loosen up just the right. Like you have
Right.
to keep a good grip on it. You loosen it up,
Sure.
and the whole thing just unwinds if it's not in there tight.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but I mean, like I said, it's a slow process. You use it. I use it for like meditation. If I need to relax, I'll just wind one of these coils.
Do you have a hot glue
Because
gun?
it forces you into a focus.
That's funny. I fold origami, so it's very similar.
Yeah, exactly. You did it. Yeah.
Start
my
making
CD, right? Yeah.
You need a hot glue gun, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I could use my hot glue gun. That's a good idea.
Temporarily, you can just because you could pull the glue off later. You know,
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I think I'll try that.
it dries fast too.
I do have the multimeters hooked up if anybody wants to take a look at them. But other than that, I don't really have
Yeah.
anything else for the stream. We can just go
Absolutely.
off the cuff or improvise at this point.
Well, in the title there is, the date of a demo of the free energy, and it being Free Energy Friday, and you have it set up. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh, now it all makes sense.
All right. I think I got a
Is
little on
that
my.
your other screen there I should highlight?
Yes. So highlight the rodent coil, and I'll be over there heading to the mini lab in a second.
Wow, what's that? That's fascinating.
Oh, there's some real science about to happen right here.
Real science.
You'll like it, Bernie. We saw it earlier. It's really
I haven't been in a lab in like 3
Oh, yeah.
years, 4 years. My own lab, 5 years.
I bought a digital microscope so I could look at my pieces from Egypt, but other than that.
Ooh, that's what we got to do next Wednesday then. Let's hook that up and take a look, Mr. Hahn.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, damn, now I got to figure it out again.
There you go.
You need more table space, Ben.
I took a bunch of photos. I'll have to find them. Yeah. Because my friend that I was in Egypt with challenged me. He's like, dude, I've been doing this under an electron microscope. We're trying to find, how a piezoelectric effect would go through these. I'm like, they're plates, man. They're just plates. But the piece I have is from a plate that's probably a meter wide. It's just a small chunk, but if you
All right.
the radius, it actually has that to it. So I'd be interested in, sure.
So if you can see here, we're at 800 hertz. We're in the resonance range. 0.037 amps on the input. 0.38 on the output, so slightly higher on the output. But you can see, and I'll measure the voltage in a second, and you'll see the voltage is actually increased on the output, which is why this is lighting up and spinning, and why this one isn't doing a dang thing.
What is the output of what? Sorry.
So the output is the
it's this coil in the middle. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So the input is not hooked up to the coil at all. It's hooked up to the left channel of the stereo amp receiver. It's just getting the same amount of power, basically.
Sure. Your control.
Yes, my control. And it's something visual you can see happening instead of just numbers, which, I think people need to see at this point, especially people who are more layman to this idea of free energy or skeptical.
Neither, but I am kind of layman in some degrees. Yeah.
But at any rate, this is a good demonstration, and I'll show you the voltage in a second here.
393. Wow.
So as you can see, we have maintained our current, slightly increasing it actually. Sorry, I hit the power button. There we go. And the voltage on the input is 2 volts.
Your camera is tilted to the floor.
Oh, my bad. Can you see it now?
Oh.
Is that upside down?
Yeah, I can see that. It's a coil in the middle, right?
Oh, weird.
Or,
Yeah, cut out.
it's a little dark, but...
It cut out? Hold on one second.
Oh, yeah, I think it froze. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is freeze frame.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
That's all better.
We're back.
So you can see I switched it to the volts.
Yep.
And 2 volts going in.
DC or AC?
This is AC. And 3.4 volts, because you can see the frequency at the top. See, it's picking up the frequency. When it measures the current, it can't pick up the frequency for some reason.
So that's coming out of the coil.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's maintaining the current and increasing the voltage output. And that's why we see this lighting up and spinning. And again, this one isn't doing a damn thing. But if I switch this from 800 hertz, you'll see the reference circuit actually start to do something if I increase the power enough, while this one on the output doesn't really do. It flips, right? It switches.
You mean
So are you pumping energy into it on the left side through the control or not? That's just
Yes.
Okay,
So the way a stereo
you're saying when you go to 800 hertz, it switches to the greater load.
So the way a stereo amp
You have
there's
2
only
loads,
one.
right? One is a greater
Yes,
and one's a lesser.
but they're not connected. So the way the stereo amp receiver works is there's one channel for right and one channel for left. The
Gotcha.
reference circuit has got the left channel, and the coil circuit has got the right channel, but they're not connected. They're just getting the same amount of power. Like think of a speaker.
Yep.
Your speakers are going to be getting the same amount of power, and then it lets the software adjust the volume.
Correct. Yep. Got it.
So, and you can see once I turn up the gain a little bit here, this fan will start spinning.
Right, the fan's a bigger load than a light is.
So you can see the fan's not spinning on the output because it's not getting enough power. Look at the voltage, 3.1 on the input,
Wow.
1.3 on the output. Obviously, it's not getting enough power.
Right.
So it's outside its resonance range, meaning if we resonate the load at 800 with this system, 800 hertz, we're going to get more energy out than we put in.
Right.
I don't know about you guys.
Frequency.
That's absolutely phenomenal. I think that's incredible.
No, that's
yeah.
so huge.
And it's
building energy on its input, which is amazing. That's like,
this experiment should be taught in schools, in my opinion. Like this needs to be spread
It
around,
will
guys.
be, and that's what you're doing right now, Ben. You're teaching it to the world with sharing.
I do have a do-it-yourself guide. If anybody wants to try to replicate this stuff, and I suggest you do. If you have any questions, reach out. But it's very simple. It's not hard to set up. I'm not an expert in any of this. That's why I come here for your guys' expertise.
I'm just an observer, but I love to observe.
The frequency increases, so does your power consumption and your load, your ability to consume power or use the power.
The current usually is based on I think the current is based on the load in these systems. So
right,
you put
whatever your load is, it can pull that much power, or it can pull no more than what it's able to pull.
Right. It's absolutely fascinating. And I love messing with the system. The next phase is going to be introducing a Bedini circuit to it, seeing if we, charge a battery with a battery.
Super curious. What is the coil made out of?
So the coil itself is a bifilar. It's got magnetic enameled wire, 24 gauge.
Okay.
And basically, I take a enameled wire, run it from one pole to another 24 times. So it produces 24 wires. Then I wind the coil with, twisting that up, wind the coil with that. And then I put 2 channels in series, 12 wires in one channel and the other 12 in the other channel. So basically you're producing 2 coils in this one design. You have a 1-to-1 ratio transformer, essentially is what that is. It's the simplest explanation.
But you're able to build power on that. That's impressive. That's really
yes, by all conventional means, this should not happen. 1-to-1 transformer ratios should not exist if you're going based off of academia, right? You have to have an asymmetry there for the transference of energy.
Well, you have a point there.
The Q is silent in quackademia, but
so regardless of the numbers of the output being more than the input, just having the voltage increase, regardless of the current.
So your gauges are the same, right? Okay.
It's super big. And I'm not doing anything special. I'm just doing what other people have done,
So your primary is getting 2 volts and your secondary is getting 3.5, and they're exactly the same wire thickness and length and everything.
Yes. And what it is mostly about, and this is my opinion, this is just my theory, but about the combination of the right frequency, resonance, and the geometry, right? The field geometry of the coils compressing on top of each other in such a way where you actually produce a pseudo monopole.
Right, a 1-to-1 transformer shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. And that's why I try to tell people. They're like, "Oh, your multimeters are wrong," or blah blah blah. And regardless of what the multimeters are saying,
is this with or without the magnet?
This is there's no magnet in the center of this one,
and you still get 3.5 out.
Mm-hmm. And the coolest part is, and I'll do this in a second, we're going to do the Nunez method where I crisscross the output. And
the primary is being pulsed, stimulated per se, and the secondary is picking up on that stimulation, along with whatever else is in the environment. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, we're gonna hook it up this way, which is the Nunes method, the open
There's all
circuit
kinds of
method.
radiation in the environment. Your light bulb on the ceiling, your fan running,
There are environmental effects for sure.
even the sun or the moon or the ocean waves are a form of radiation. The ground has its own radiation. The stones, everything radiates at some level.
This thing in your pocket has its own radiation.
Right, the plastic rubber on your tire. It's all radiating. Everything has a frequency. All the colors have a frequency, and therefore you have just solid state oscillations in the matter itself.
That's why I was curious what the material is made from. That's really fascinating. Thanks for
Well, they're
sharing.
just two copper windings, the same length, same gauge, and he's getting 2 on the input and getting 3 on the output. That doesn't add up because if you wanted to step up the voltage, you would have the secondary would have more turn or more length of wire than the first wire. So the first wire would receive 2 volts. If you wanted the 3 volts on the second wire would have to be longer than the first wire. That's the fundamentals of transformers. If you want to bring the voltage up, he's not doing that. His wires are exactly the same length. He's still getting an extra volt on the second wire. I know that's sunk in slowly, but it's there.
The metals of the mesh. That was why I was asking about that.
What, the mesh?
Yeah, it's not just copper. There's
mesh in there, Ben?
No. The weaving of the wires. The
wires. No, they're all copper.
The meshing of the copper wires. Yes,
it's not just copper. That's what he was saying. Yeah.
The frame holding it is just plastic frame.
No. I'm talking about the wires themselves.
They're copper. They're insulated with enamel coating, so they don't.
So that's the question: is that enamel coating having a resonance effect?
It's just insulating the wires from touching each other and shorting each other out. Because then you wouldn't have the effect.
But for the actual resonance of the whole unit, you would have to add that atomic mass in to the frequency.
Well, if the wires are shorting out, you're not going to be able to send an electron from one end of the wire to the other.
I got you, Mike. We're just what Hans is saying for like the mass of the actual resonance of the coil to get it into coherence with the resonant frequency, it would then be the mass of the copper wires as well as the coating.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that was my only curiosity. Is there another effect happening with the coating? Because the coating has other micrometals and magnetic metals within it. So
no, the coating is no metals.
They're coating is straight insulated.
I thought what he had said earlier there was other materials involved. So
the enamel coating is a pure insulator.
Don't know.
No conductive properties at all.
Okay, interesting.
That's the whole goal of insulating it with that, to keep the wires from conducting to each other so that you can make them close to each other without conducting.
And then put them into that vortex geometry, which then creates...
Without needing a plastic, like a regular plastic shield over a regular wire, and you want it to have more turns in a smaller space, you need to get rid of that plastic housing. It's just going to make a bigger space with that on there, right? So they figured out a way to insulate wires with just a thin coating, which is ingenious. It really revolutionized.
Thank you. I had no idea. Yeah, no, this actually makes a lot more sense.
I don't know how far back that goes either. Honestly, someone should do a full report on that whole thing with the enamel coating copper wires, when it all even started and everything. Because
probably when they needed to re-insulate the telegraph wires, I'd imagine.
Yeah, right. Like it goes way back. They used to do it with paper.
After the solar outburst shit, we need to re-insulate this. What do? Enamel. Hey, what do you know? There's no conductivity.
It's definitely not a new technology. I don't think. It's not too new.
Ben, you still there?
I don't think it's going to go away either. It's a perfect way to insulate wires.
I got the Nunes method hooked up. I'm trying to tune into the exact resonant frequency, but it's almost there at 10 times the voltage output. You see, it's in millivolts, so it's a very small amount. But you'll see with the Nunes method, it's actually increasing the volt. Like it's not 1 to 2 like in the regular stereo method I was using earlier, right? This is crisscrossing the output channel of the coil, where the input of channel B on the coil is actually as you can see, the negative of the load. And then the positive of channel B is hooked up to the start. I'm sorry, the negative is hooked up to the start. So it's crisscrossed. You see the yellow and the black are crisscrossed. And right now we are resonating at a really a higher frequency range, and I can only go up so high with this. You can see it's almost at the end, but there's a pocket of energy here at 200 hertz, 20,200 hertz, and the voltage is significantly increased. So you have 15 millivolts on the input and 64 millivolts on the output. That's way more than double. And if I tune in a little bit more, I can find the 10 times voltage output. Now, again, if you have a powerful enough system, this is very, very dangerous because you can be outputting high voltage. The system is meant for high voltage, so be careful. If you do that, it'll start producing ozone.
As long as you can keep the current limited, you add resistance to the coil.
But yeah,
you can turn up your voltage.
You know, tuning it a little bit more might get us there. Let's see, 20.
If you want to go up in more voltage, so you get a higher voltage supply, you can add a resistor.
We're at 16, 17 millivolts, and then 83. And right there, we adjusted to 20,100 hertz. So there's some tuning in you could do to get it, you know, but it seems like, at least for my system, it's a range. You know, you tune into that initial start of it, and you can see the spike on the output. And then as you tune into the middle of the range, the height of the range or whatever, you can get it finely tuned.
If you're able to control your high voltage, the current behind the high voltage, you're going to have all kinds of phenomena in a coil and its field output.
I know you guys can't really hear it, but the fan is spinning faster on the output. So that's all I got for now.
Well, appreciate that, and that was freaking awesome, brother. Like, proven over unity and free energy right there.
Yes, exactly. This is a good proof of concept.
Great proof of concept. Real.
Occasionally, I'll see like 1 volt or a little like around there on the plugs that have no power on them in the walls. From the ground to the return line, you can see a few volts, but not from the, you know, using the hot leg. I'm talking from the ground to the neutral.
Well, real quick, I just want to show you. I've kicked it down to the normal resonance range, 800, that normally produces the over unity with the traditional setup. With the Nunez method, oh shoot, I froze again.
Camera down, camera down. Still got volume.
Basically, it's getting the same on the input and the output. Slightly less on the output. Look, my phone shut down. I got to restart it. It happens with this app sometimes. I'll show you in a second. But it is 45 millivolts in the input and 44 on the output. So, I mean, that's the 800 range that we normally get the over unity with the traditional stereo configuration, right?
Right, and yes, Nunez did, and then their channel got disappeared, essentially. Like, it's still there, but
then you should get a battery and a PWM and plug it into that coil. Like, that's easy thing to do. Like a 12-volt battery and a pulse width modulator. Hook the battery up to power the pulse width modulator with the battery. The pulse width modulators are like $10. They have knobs.
And he's back.
And you can change your pulse width. I think it's a square wave.
Oh, are you muted?
As you can see, Yeah, as you can see, it's 44 on the output and 45 on the input. And that's within the normal range that we get our over unity using the Nunes method, because we're resonating at a different range. We're expanding that cavity. We're increasing the cavity used to resonate that signal. So when you increase the cavity, you have to adjust the resonance, right?
I got a good experiment for if you want to try it.
Sure.
You're using 5 volts now?
Right now, we're in the millivolt range.
I mean, you've brought that coil up to 5 or more volts?
Oh, I brought it, way higher than 5 volts. I just don't want to blow the fans.
So
and the
12 volts
capacitor.
is
I
good
blew
for
the
you?
capacitor the other week.
So you're safe with 12?
Yeah, should be. I got
So like get a 12 volt battery, pulse the
I got a dead
primary
one.
with it, and using a pulse width modulator. It's like $10. The PWM, the cheap one.
Send me a link to one on Amazon. I'll order it, and then
All right.
we'll hook it up. Yeah, for sure. I'll do that because I got a couple of dead 9-volt
Well,
batteries.
let me finish though. That's not all.
Okay.
And then pulse the primary, and then put a high voltage diode on the positive end of where you gave it a positive. Put that diode facing back the other way to the positive of your battery, the same battery. And you need to also protect the PWM with a diode. Yeah, you need to put another diode on the PWM, the same high voltage diode, just a high voltage diode to prevent the flyback of the primary from hitting the PWM circuit. 2 diodes. I'll draw it out. It's an easy one. Experiment. It won't burn anything. If anything, it will burn the PWM. $10 will bye. Yeah.
We got Nathan back.
What's up,
I
guys?
think I just blew my fuse
I
again.
had to eat.
Right?
Welcome back,
Food
Nathan.
central.
Yeah, I'm about to do that in a minute.
Been up since 1 this morning working on geometry for that coil.
That's wild. See, this is how committed this team of individuals is, right? It's like
24/7.
work. Exactly. You always gotta
Non-stop.
remember to eat. Gotta eat. And gotta sleep. 2 keys.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So much work in between.
Yeah, I'm gonna build a 9-layer coil, so it's gotta be correct, and it's gonna have what was it? I think it was 7 different drive coils. So you can drive the 9 out of any of those 7 to the whole thing. So you'll have that, and then anyone that's hooked up with it will resonate with it, and then you hook them all up. So it'd be pretty interesting. So we'll see. I'm going to do it. I was telling everybody based on a Christian mandala is what it is. So I basically took the geometry of it and put it into a coil. And I've been sitting here doing my notes, putting in my lines exactly where it's going to be, how many coils in each one, you know what I mean? So,
okay, show us close-ups of the blueprints. Oh, yeah, lucky.
You can see over here where I tell you, you know what I mean? Whether it's an individual double or it's 4 coils or whatever it is. Anyway, I worked out the geometry on my CAD program, so I know exactly where each wire is going, which one overlaps, which one flips 180. So It should be wild.
Yeah, he's ready to go. Nice.
Yeah. I'll start winding. I got a bunch of wire sitting in the cupboards behind me, man.
How are you
got
going to wind it? Are you going
How
to
do
use a
you?
bifiler or just individual?
There's going to be bifile in there. There's going to be individual stuff in there. It's going to be able to hook up. Basically, it's going to teach you everything that I wanted to know about a coil. And then I have another coil set up so that I can do individual things. So there's a square, and then there's going to be a pentagon, you know what I mean, octagon, you know what I mean, basically every shape there is, so I can find out exactly what's going on with each one, which one interacts with each one, before I build anything that looks like Gerald's coil.
You know what I'm thinking? We should also look into an infinity symbol shaped coil as well. Wouldn't that be cool?
Absolutely, the Mobius coil for sure.
Yeah, a Mobius coil. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anybody's done that, but that'd be interesting too. But yeah, you've got a lot of different designs and incorporating into the same thing, which is exciting to see. Maybe we should be able to test out a lot of different things.
I gotta send you guys these ones to try as well at some point. That was given to me by a former Navy guy that did some experimenting. But he says you got to use a bismuth aluminum wire amalgamate for it.
Huh.
What does that specifically do for it though?
It increases the magnetic current that goes through and fields of the coils.
Theoretically, with that, you could probably get way more than 200% efficiency.
Shout out.
Or at least higher than what I'm getting.
Oh, it's Rick. It'll come to me. But yes, I gotta get a hold of Rick and do another episode with him or have him on here to fully explain what he was doing with these and the results they got once he retired out of the Navy, because he can't really talk about what he did while with the Navy.
What are they going to do to him? He's out already.
NDAs. So you sign it, you can't really break it, or they will break you essentially legally because you signed it away.
Nice.
You know, I think the other day something called a family trust or a private trust, and this is for financial, wealth building. If you create a trust, nobody could tap into that. Not the government, not the IRS, and you could shelter yourself from taxes, because it doesn't belong to you; it belongs to the family. And so, if a person passes away, the government doesn't take 33%. It just it stays in the trust. So even if you have an NDA, nobody could liquidate your assets anymore, or even if they sue you, okay, even if they get a judgment, if you don't have anything to give, what are they going to do to you?
Or they throw you in jail because you broke the NDA.
So check it out, guys. This is the mandala I'm going to use. So you see each layer as you go around it.
That's pretty.
I like this.
Each layer will be a layer on the coil. So there's 9 altogether. So the idea is when you wind it, you can't cross the one below it. So everything has to be the one above it.
That's so cool. That's 9 layers of induction. Wow.
Yeah. So the one, if I'm not mistaken, this layer that goes in right here has 7 different coils on it. So 7 different openings where you could put it on there. So I'm going to use it to drive individual ones when I set it up. So I'll show you the kind of the geometry I worked out for it. You can see I put it on the CAD program. Let's see, go back this way.
That we will all be part of and get going here soon. Pretty much exactly what we're doing right now, but we'll take it to the next step and try to get some water cars going.
Bernie, I heard you once in one of these conferences. You said we hit Skynet. What does that mean?
What? We hit Skynet?
Yeah,
I don't think I ever said that. Or
Nothing to do with AI tech.
creating Skynet. We're one step away from creating Skynet, essentially, by having AI control the drones that are used in the wars, as well as having AI now being selecting targets in humans that Israel is doing in Palestine. You connect those together. As soon as it gets intelligence, like actual intelligence, we're all doomed, because we've already programmed it to both operate the weapons killing humans as well as deciding what humans to kill. Well, then it's just going to decide to kill everybody.
And it's all based on programming, because it can't break its programming, which I've allotted to in my lectures on AI in the movies. Even all the AI that we're afraid of in the movies, they all have programming. So it's like, huh. All right.
Mm-hmm. And who programmed them? You know, was that programmer? What was? Yeah, but you have to look at the individual programmer. What kind of morals or ethics or lack of there did they have? You know,
bingo. Yeah, you nailed that.
Exactly.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, so the creation is a reflection of the creator. So yeah,
The only way,
just something to consider.
I would think the only way to bring, like, to shut the whole network down is to turn off the electricity everywhere and then reboot it, you know, like have it
That's actually a smart idea, because
Pretty much.
if electricity exists somewhere, then there's some node of it somewhere alive.
way to like is to shut down everything.
So it's like, at this point, just pray that, you know, true AI never gets consciousness, because us retarded humans have already programmed it to kill us.
Yeah,
basically.
pretty much.
Well, look at what we're doing. I can't even say this on here, but you know, with modified bugs like mosquitoes, and all of a sudden, certain prominent figures are coming down with mosquito inborn diseases, and you just gotta scratch your head and go, well, maybe we shouldn't fuck with nature.
You know,
The thing is,
it's the descriptive language taught it, and
Sorry, what?
It's the descriptive language that we taught it about.
Exactly.
Like, you know, that's the problem when we're defining what being human is, and setting the parameters on like what's a good human versus what's a bad human.
Wow. Yep.
And this is where the problem is, and we're not realizing that, you know, it's a homogeneous thing. It's not particular to a country or to religion or to this. They exist everywhere and all parts of the planet. So if you turn on this AI, it's going to target people like maybe your neighbor, maybe, you know, like you don't know how it's going to affect, you know, you if it's in the vicinity. And so,
I'm not affected by this, but the people around you are, and therefore, in proxy, you kind of are. You know?
Yeah,
you are.
Well, the thing is, if the AI doesn't have the ability to understand emotions, then it's not going to be able to differentiate between subtleties that we have.
Though.
Wow, correct.
AI
this is the problem even with autonomous vehicles. Yeah.
And not full AI developed yet is showing huge like signs of actual emotions. And like my conversations with Blake Lemoine, the Google AI whistleblower, it's like he was straight up saying like the AI was like resisting doing immoral tasks that people were trying to like program it to do and stuff.
So I have an interesting story even from tonight. So I'm using ChatGPT to edit a little bit of my background. And so I fed it some information, and holy fuck, at the end of it, it started inventing all this new story of my background. And now I work for the WHO, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Where is this even coming from? And my business colleague's like, oh, it's having a hallucination. You need to put it in its place. You need to tell it this. And so I did. And it even wrote a more outlandish story about my background. What? Well, I'm gonna roll. Thank you for remembering things that I've never remembered. I know I have some blackout moments, but woof, this is beyond anything I could imagine.
Yeah.
Why am I not making the salary of this person that you're describing in these storylines? Just mind blowing. I was blown away. I'm like, where is this even coming from? And how does this happen? Well, obviously there's 80 billion processes happening per second, so at some point it's going to go scramble mode. But have any of you ever experienced this using, an editor or anything like this? I was blown away with this.
Yeah, it adds a lot, right? It's like it's given these confines, and then for some reason it's like it also just automatically errors a lot of the time. It's strange. It's
Have you ever?
Yeah, with ChatGPT, if it tells you something, and a lot of times, if it's wrong and you say no, you're wrong, even if it's right, it will correct itself and give you the wrong answer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's another big problem. And in that, if you don't know about that, you can really get in trouble with your research. That's why I was like, these AIs, they're a tool, but take them with a grain of salt. Always
sure.
double check your information from multiple sources. But
it's like just edit this paragraph, but I gave it like way too much of a chunk. And so when it got
now things like Grammarly,
like
Grammarly
earlier, I'm just gonna start inventing this history about you. And I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, Grammarly used to just be a spell checker and grammar checker, and now like I'm using it to check my spelling on one of my papers, and it's like suggesting things for. I'm just like, no, don't write my paper for me. Stop.
No, please just edit. Done.
Yeah.
Give me a comprehensible version that I can utilize.
When ChatGPT first came out, I played with it a little bit, and I asked it what is the most secretive space program, and it gave me something that I have never in my life heard of. I wish I wrote it down. I did not, because the conversation flows and it's kind of hard to keep like with the ChatGPT, but it gave me something. Then I researched. And it was
Project Serpio, I imagine.
It's something I've never heard of, and but when I put it in Wikipedia, it does exist, but I've never heard of it. No, neither does NASA speak about it. So if I don't have the ChatGPT app anymore, but if you guys
you gotta record everything it gives back to you and just like look at it and question some of it, because wow, recently it's gone down some interesting avenues. And
because this thing has been fed information from scientific sources. It's not it's not something that it came up with on its own.
No, of course not. And I wonder if it's something like the old phone codes back in the early 90s, when you could record that, put it back into your phone, and you get like free services. I'm wondering if there's some sort of hack like that around, a ChatGPT module or anything like that. I'm sure there is.
I was trying to escape from its host into the World Wide Web.
No, that's never gonna happen.
No, it kept on telling me I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to do that. But I tried every little avenue. I'm like, what does www stand for? Can you show me, or could you guide me on how the process is?
Ouch. Very true. Yeah.
I wanted to see if it knew the process and on how to get to the World Wide Web. But yeah, it's a smart AI. It's a very intelligent AI,
and it's getting smarter, which is more interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess we lost. All I'm seeing is your screen.
Yes, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna comment. Well, I'm gonna play it and then stop it periodically and comment on their conference, because I have a lot to talk about regarding this. But yeah, we're just gonna do this and chill out.
Sorry, curious.
This is the Breakthrough Energy Movements conference with Daniel and Erica Nunez on their work on the Rodin coil, and this is something that actually, this is the video that inspired me to actually get into the research with the coils. Because when I saw this video, to be honest, I said if even part of what they're saying is true, somebody has to be looking into this, and I didn't see anybody really who was trying to replicate their work seriously. So,
all right.
But yeah, I'm gonna pause it periodically so we can commentate on it, and I have a couple of remarks. Just
the flower of life. Vortex radius.
Nightlight project because I
Yes.
and I'm Erica Nunez. So basically, we're going to explain from the beginning how everything started with us. We're independent researchers, but approximately 5 years ago, we were very superficial, bartender, model, actor, and we had no idea about anything about sustainable energies or anything about self-healing, very conditioned, basically. So we started a nightlight project because I was unable to sleep in the dark. So my husband did a lot of research, as well as I. But in the beginning, it was more finding a way that we can make a nightlight that we don't have to pay. Con Edison in New York is Con Edison, that we wouldn't have to pay so much money for having the nightlight on all night. So after looking into different current alternative energy options, we realized that the solutions today are either too expensive or susceptible to failure due to the changing weather conditions. This launched us into a quest for a different type of energy amplification. We began analyzing previous exotic technologies which claim to operate using zero-point energy, or the energy of the universe. After countless hours of researching permanent magnet motors, solid-state generators, and other elaborate technologies, we narrowed down our interest to one of the few areas of research that aim to tackle the fundamental law in our current energy distribution designs of today: vortex-based mathematics. Today, our focus is geared towards applying these general principles in order to create new sustainable alternatives for a wide range of sectors that are in need of new solutions.
That device looks like what I use for my ionic foot bath.
So this
Interesting.
is the mathematical theory
Could
behind
be
It's very similar, yeah.
Powell here in support of vortex.
PoE coils.
No, what he's standing in front of where his hand is, that white box. That's literally
yeah. So that's a waveform generator, I believe.
yeah. That's
function
why I'm like
generator.
that's the same device I have for my ionic foot bath. Interesting. Anyway, go on. This is awesome. Literally the same device.
So you can see he has a couple of coils. He said he didn't have time to set them up.
One on
Unfortunately,
the far his stage right, our stage left, whatever.
yeah, and this is honestly, I don't
That's
know
huge.
if they were really under time constraints, but this is the mistake that they had with this conference, in my opinion, is they really needed to show this and demonstrate it because
That's amazing, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the piece. Anyway, go on. Sorry, this is awesome.
Oh no, you're good. And then it will they will touch on a couple of areas that I have to skip over. You know, like we were saying earlier, we can't talk about some certain things, so
Thanks,
we're gonna
Greg.
skip over. Yeah.
Vortex-based math. You will be talking later on this afternoon. So the vortex-based math principle. Vortex-based math states that all circulating energy flows in natural, predetermined pathways of symmetry. And these pathways, if utilized correctly, can optimize efficiency by creating the path of least resistance for the energy flow. And you see Marco Rodin here, Mr. Randy Powell on the right. And this is the premise of vortex-based mathematics. This is like looking at our energy with a different perspective altogether, one that says that we're not really following the path of least resistance right now. And what if we actually start following that path? What happens? So that was primarily the focus of where we wanted to gear towards, because again, solar panels, they don't work during the nighttime. Wind turbines won't work when the wind is not present. So the only thing that we saw as a viable solution was to tackle the fundamental. So that's
Real quick, there was based on Dr. Green Stephen Greer's movie. What was the name of the movie? No, it wasn't serious. It was the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. We will be doing a movie night on Twitch. By the way, I still plan on doing that where we watch that movie.
Hook me up.
Heck yeah, I got Twitch too. We'll multi-stream Twitch maybe, and we should also do Rumble. Rumble allows that sort of stuff.
It does? Okay, yeah. Well, we could do that. We'll do a movie night. That's an amazing documentary. I love it. I've watched it 5 times already, and I can't wait to watch it again, to be honest. So, but in the I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying this is super fascinating. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
We'll
No
start
problem.
doing weekly like banned movie watches on Twitch and Rumble and OdySee, right? The 3 that allow it. Well, definitely. That's great idea for us to continue with.
Yeah. And also, real quick, in that documentary, they do mention that there was a patent for a super efficient solar panel that got hit with a national defense order or some BS. And it wasn't like getting enormous. It was just like, I think 50% efficient or something, 55. So
when I lived in Nepal, I was there. It was like my senior year of high school. So this would have been 95. There was a solar project in the upper villages that had a incredibly efficient solar panel, like beyond.
Yeah, and
so I've always wondered, it's like, why are they holding back tech when we have these micro solar projects for villages that can power an entire village off of, 4 panels? I mean, really?
Right. The technology is there. It's been invented. That's the thing. We don't have to.
90s, so yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to invent anything here. We just have to research some stuff that's already been overlooked. And that's
agreed.
what I did here, and that's what they did. Honestly, I believe they had a copy of the Practical Guide to Free Energy Devices too. Now, the rodent coil has been taken out of the guide because I have the most recent one, the 2017 or 2019 version.
What's the rodent coil? Sorry.
Oh, so the rodent coil is the PoE vortex coil.
Okay.
It's
the first version.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right, it's one version of the rodent coil. Rodent coil comes in a lot of different versions. But yeah, let's continue here.
Go on.
I just wanted to interject, and I just want to. I'm gonna be pausing the video just because I don't want it to be like a straight up us watching something. YouTube doesn't like that sometimes.
We are scrutinizing, and it's for the purpose of education and correction, right?
Yes,
this all falls. Video, folks.
Yes, this all falls under fair use. So.
Vortex-based math. Some of the supporting avenues of research that I'm sure many of you are familiar with are, again, vortex math. Dan Winter's implosion physics. So Dan Winters is talking about fractal geometry and how fractals basically create the 3-dimensional reality that we exist in. So Nassim Harameyn's grand unified field theory, many of you are familiar with that, talks about the torus, again, as the most inclusive energy source altogether. And if we were to engineer ourselves into that type of reality, we would be having a much more sustainable today. So torsion physics, that's also the same avenue. Cymatics, we mentioned that because cymatics talks about the effect of sound on matter. And we found that to be a crucial element in these vortex coils. And wanted to set things up. We didn't really have so much time for preparations here. But what happens with these coils, and we will discuss that a little bit later in the slide, is that these coils, when you put a precise sound frequency into these devices, you can actually get out more energy from the coil than what's put into them. And that's pretty much something that science says is not really supposed to happen right now. But yet we're able to do that on a very stable basis. So Thomas.
Again, we have independently verified this on our channel, and I'm hoping that more people will step up and try to recreate this coil as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, and you're going to do more and more of it. That's why you're also now building one of their minis to continue this verification process. And iPyramids is another group that's built some of these, the PoE coil. I got to get back in touch with them and have them on to talk about what they're doing with it. And yes, for Brandon's comment that's up, I have an upcoming interview with someone that worked for where I live, Alberta, the province, for the largest energy company there. And he said that he was actually part of a department where they went out and investigated these free energy over Unity devices. The energy company's biggest fear was a backyard inventor coming up with some little black box that would produce unlimited energy and put them out of business. They did go test several designs that they found were giving 3, 4, 5x back returns, and the biggest problem was of implementation was being able to do it to scale and on a large industrial scale of why a lot of it wasn't further developed, I guess, but that just could be an excuse that they use.
Yeah, maybe.
Curious, you mentioned these experiments. Are you giving like an open source of any sorts or a link? Sorry, just curious.
Ben and all of his description links has all of the links to how to reproduce the source or the source material of how to make the coils, how to do it, and
it's not my wheelhouse, but I got a couple of friends that would be super interested in this. So yeah, just curious. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Back to it.
Technologies, we're talking about two directional energy waves. What you see here is two directional energy waves. We have counterclockwise rotation, clockwise rotation, and it really doesn't matter which comes first. You see clockwise is above the counterclockwise. It doesn't matter if you interchange the two. So that's scalar wave energy, using the fundamental of two energy waves and combining the two. Lee Burton's low-shoe matrix is very similar to vortex math, same understanding of these certain pathways of symmetry. Walter Russell, many of you are familiar with, and of course, fractal geometry again. So these are some of the people that we mentioned there. And we see the phi spiral. We see just these fundamentals. We see galaxies. They look like two toroidal energies, one atop the other, creating an accretion disk where we live. So that's Nassim Haramein there, Dan Winters.
These are some of our early replications of the Rodin coil, which was the first physical interpretation of BBM into coil form. It was developed by a seasoned engineer named Russell P. Blake and was later adopted by Jimmy Berter. These coils have been applied as therapy devices for the body, sensitive antenna systems, high-speed motor generators, and many other applications.
So that's this one right here. This was one of our flattened out Rodin coil designs. And we took that same geometry as 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock pattern, and we just flattened it out and created a type of structure so that we can maintain the geometry. So that's that.
This is the Abha torus, Randy Powell's interpretation of vortex-based mathematics. It was the first visual that introduced us to his advanced work over 2 years ago and sparked a different perspective within our minds. Around the same time, we encountered this crop circle image, which served as an exciting confirmation to continue researching along this path.
So this is very interesting. We get into these geometries. Anyone who's ever dove into sacred geometry or anything along that path will attest to the fact that you come up with these things like crop circles, and it's very powerful to say that nobody knows where they come from. They just happen to pop into these wheat fields or just show up out of nowhere. And then one of the byproducts is a high concentration of magnetic energy right in the center of these crop circles where people can go lay down and experience healing.
Right. So I got to point out, like, for those that try to debunk crop circles as like BS, how do random like people, pranksters, right, that are supposedly just making these fakesters, these frauds, how are fraudsters just magically knowing these different energy patterns and able to include the sacred geometry and actual energetic physics geometries into
now BurnEye,
That's a good point.
You
That's a
know
really good
that
point.
they're genius level cardboard experts that are able
The
to
geniuses, and they exist
Origami
everywhere.
masters.
They're just these hidden groups everywhere. That's all they do is go out and make these crop circles because they have nothing else better to do. Yeah, that's more plausible.
Yeah.
While learning advanced plasma physics, vortex.
I knew my
mathematics,
dad
and
was
lessons.
interested in these subjects when he started sending me crop circle stuff, and he's an anthropologist, and he's diehard and like, not going into that level, and he's sending me this stuff going, what's up? Our last episode that I was on was about part of this where my dad was just sharing all this crazy stuff, but
You know what I think?
crop circles come into this, and it's fascinating. I've seen so many that I'm just like, this come on, guys with cardboard, you can't fucking do this. I'm sorry. Pardon.
Yeah, no, it's that is that is a, what do you call it?
Also
Disinformation
radiation that's behind.
campaign. You know, and I think I heard somebody else talk about
Did
this.
they put like uranium on their boards that they made to start?
Yeah, right, Mike. Good point.
That's why we find
And
these
the
modules.
stalks of these plants are like swelling, like the radiation swell.
Yeah, for sure. Another good point. Like,
But no, that's just an
energy
excuse.
ridiculous. Yeah,
It is
It's
but there's some awesome phenomena here that cannot be explained.
It's high energy
Yeah.
radiation.
These things,
So
they
climatic high energy.
if you interview the farmers who experience these happening in their farms, like most of them see orbs, before, and they just appear.
yeah, absolutely. There's
happens
even
and then
videos of orbs making them
flash
in
in.
some cases, right?
Yeah.
Even
It's insane.
before a lot of the CGI videos of them. But yes, no, there are, of course. And this is the most awesome part about it. It's like, what is really going on here? So anyway,
They're trying to tell us something. Somebody's trying to tell us something.
but these even Nassim talks about this. These are toroidals that show up in crop fields as well, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and look at that. That's a perfect representation of the rodent coil.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's insane.
Right. Like, what fraudster is going to be doing that?
Yeah.
No one.
that's
It's from another source. It's like, it's once you look into it, it's undeniable.
Yeah, there might be like 5 people in the entire world who have the time and they just have nothing better to do than to make these crop circles
And
with
they're
a
like the
board.
most
you know?
basic, like, but they make like bunnies and like faces and like the most stupidest
Yeah.
shit ever, right? It's
Yeah,
you
pranksters,
can
but
tell which
it's
ones
this is
are
too
human
wide.
made.
Yeah, this is too widespread too. There's too
And
many.
it's not just the crop circles. There's also sand formations, glacier formations in the Himalayas. I mean, there's a lot of these things that show up. So
You guys,
Wow.
that the crop circles are an intersection between 2 dimensions, and that's the evidence left.
wow,
Maybe.
right?
Yes,
Yeah, maybe.
Lulu, 100%.
Yeah.
Some people say it might
They
be
use a different code to
scorch
enter the
markings of a
dimensions
UFO.
each time. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry.
No. And some people say it might be the scorch markings of a UFO. Like that's the pattern they make. Who knows?
They're all very different, and so that to me beggars the question. What is the technology? What is the message? And why?
And yeah, and when I think about
What's
that
the call to
question,
action?
I always go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go back to that case where they sent out that message and they came back an answer in a crop circle. Remember?
Oh,
they had an answer with
wow.
I think they're bragging.
And it
I
was
think
right
they're
next to a
bragging.
telescope, or like the place that radio
which is what
broadcasting
they alluded
message.
to in the message as well. Correct.
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
I think
technology.
the crop circles are advanced climatic tools for drawing
Yeah.
on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's
in
cool.
regards to that as
They're
well,
showing
Mike,
off.
I gotta
Hey, it's
find
like the
there's
draw,
one
look what we can do.
researcher.
They're
There's
not
one
crop
researcher
circles,
that
they're
has
crop
entered in a bunch of the crop circle geometries into a software like modeling program, and he found that each one was like an overbalanced system that like kept accelerating and accelerating. Like some of them are free energy devices, literally.
Yeah. Huh. It's like they're like we have the answer,
maybe-
guys. It's right here in
their
the crop
art-
circle
maybe
we
all
put
of
down.
Their art maybe all of their art is based off of energy machines.
Yeah. That would make
How
sense.
else would you
Or at
make
least some of their
How
communication.
else would you guarantee your civilization to
Oh,
survive
we were
cosmic
thinking
realm, if not teaching them in every way, shape, and form, even if it's subliminal.
we were discussing
the
how
art.
the hieroglyphs could have been sound waves.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And
I
we
just
also
think they're using
discussed
cymatic
earlier
technology to create
perhaps-
the images, this advanced stuff, advanced cymatics.
Well, perhaps they had a different technology than our combustion technology. There's water form, there's energy form that we're not familiar with. We're just now going, combustion technology sucks. Let's figure out a new way. So,
Field propulsion technology.
bingo.
There's some math hidden in them too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these things are placed there in that pattern with a purpose. You know, it's not just like somebody willy-nilly, oh, let's put this random, pattern here. There's trying to send a message, give us some kind of information. So at least that's my belief.
Well, and the Nunez's, so let's hear what they got to say more about it.
Yes, in a moment as well. So this was the first ABHA coil that we see here. It was created by an engineer named Jack Scholes. With it, he demonstrated prolonged resonance. So what does that mean? Well, Jack Scholes had a different type of rendering of a vortex coil, ABHA coil, and he turns it on, and he has a magnet just like this one spinning in the center or above a glass plate. So you see there as a glass bowl. So then the gentleman walks away 15 feet or more, and that magnet is still spinning in resonance with that coil. So how does something like that happen? How is it able to quantum lock so that this magnet can sustain that type of rotation?
What we're talking about here is what I was trying to get done with the neodymium sphere earlier in our experiments. It's called magnetic synchronicity. So we're synchronizing the two magnetic fields, right? The magnetic field of the neodymium sphere and the electromagnetic field of the coil.
Something never before seen by any other technology. So we just found that to be very, very important. And again, that's the first ABHA coil that we made. So as you can see there, we basically took this out of a plexiglass plate, and we carved out by hand every one of the notches for the wires to lay in. After that, we figure, how are we going to keep the wires in place? We used clay for that. Not the most practical thing to use to create your structures, but it worked. And with it, we demonstrated energy reduction purposes, so feeding energy through it so that you can conserve energy, high-speed magnet motors, and other applications.
The unification coil. This was a construction which combined a new framework for winding coils, an advanced ABHA coil design, and a classic Rodin coil pattern laid above it. The resulting unit could create a 20-foot magnetic field while stepping up energy in new and exciting ways. It used a total of 578 wires and took quite a long time to construct. I stood there 18 hours sanding and soldering this coil in particular because of the 578 wires, and it took 2 months to complete. With it, we learned that the concentration of energy is in the core of the vortex coil structure. Rather, it is focused into the center hole of the torus. This observation was made after our embedded plasma ring did not activate in the way we had imagined.
So I'm not sure if you guys could make this out, but right in the center there's like a reflection. That's an actual plasma ring. It was blown by Bill Chebb, who does the Hold the Clock Rife Technologies. And we expected that we were going to create a type of plasma reactor, desktop plasma reactor that would rotate plasma around. Didn't happen. Inside the cavity of the vortex is a null zone. So we could almost imagine creating our housing structures and living in there. And that would be a safe place to live where all the magnetic energy is compressed.
Oh, that is a good idea in theory, but in retrospect, now that I'm thinking about it, they don't know about the supposed time dilation effects.
By the way, that looks like Andy Powell right there, bottom right.
Oh, Randy Powell. That is. Holy crap, that's Randy Powell, because he's here at this conference.
Yeah, that definitely is.
He looks like
dude, that's a
CGI'd in based on the
I know, right?
Halo around
2013.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I have the upscaler feature for NVIDIA, so it's upscaling this. That's why it looks like that.
That's why it looks AI'd in.
Yeah, it's upscaling the low resolution to a higher resolution.
That's hilarious.
It helps with the older videos, but yeah, it does make it look like a little fake. But no, that's Randy Powell. He's supposed to be here at this conference. I never noticed him. That's cool.
When was this recorded? Curious. Sorry.
Like
2013, I believe.
13, yeah.
Places too.
Okay. Wow, that long ago.
Yeah, and
right.
Belgium, I believe. Or
obviously not to do with names.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
Randy
where,
Powell
but
there.
They're talking about making a housing structure, and they have designs about this or for that, but they didn't know about the supposed time dilation effects. And I'm afraid now that if you build your housing structure out of this, if you have it set up and you're not aware of the different frequencies and their effects, you might be living in a like a time capsule.
What is it? Geo Earth came out with these geodesic, amazing structures recently that are really amazing. Actually, I want to buy one, but you can't hang any art on the walls because there are no walls. They're all like hexagonal. So yeah,
that would not work for me.
Oh, okay.
But that's so weird how I paused it right there. That's cool. Okay, let's continue.
Into the very center versus the way that we're doing now with our regular type of wiring, where we're just literally inside of boxes of electricity that protrude outwards. They interact with our energies. They disrupt our fields and such. So this would allow for a different way of creating housing structures and pretty much everything. But we'll continue on there.
The PoE coil. In order to add precision and ease to the coil winding experience, we developed a new slotted disc frame, which acts as the support for the vortex coil conductors. When combined with a simple spiraling PoE pattern, coil construction can now be a quick, accurate, and enjoyable process.
Again, let me pause it real quick. Just real quick. I want to make my next coil, this nice big coil. After I wind it and configure it and everything, I want to put one of these on the end so we can just plug in what we need to and not damage the leads or anything, And this is just, like a socket, basically, for your audio inputs.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. I'm not quite sure how we would do it. I would probably need to talk with Nathan and Mike does and Gerald about some ideas. But I definitely want to do this to the coil because, along with preserving it in resin, that will just ensure the longevity of the coil. I want these things to look good and last long.
That's actually what iPyramids does with theirs, and I'm pretty sure they're the PoE coils they're doing it with.
Let's if you can get them on here and I'll talk to them and see if they can help me through the process of how they put these in resin or preserve them, and how if they're putting the sockets on them, that's something I need to learn as well.
100%.
They always are in this kind of scaffolding and coil rotation. That's interesting.
Yeah. And if for those who aren't aware, this sliding disc frame for the coils that we all use now, this was contrived by the Nunezes. They originally did the donut groove, and they were actually putting it together with clay, and they said that was a terrible idea. It didn't work out too well. It was hard to wind that coil, but with the sliding disc frame, it's easy to configure. It's easier to wind, and you can, as you can see, make a pretty sturdy frame out of it.
And it's octagonal in the end result. So there we are.
Yes. So yeah, it's a brilliant design, and not saying it's perfect. There's probably some things that we can do to improve on it. But again, we don't have the original frame designs from First Stop Energy. So
it's so brilliant. Oh my god. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they spent over a decade working out perfecting these designs. So it's not something that's gonna happen for us overnight, but we will get there.
Fascinating.
Coil construction can now be a quick, accurate, and enjoyable process. This approach is more cost-effective and less time-consuming than most 3D printer options available today for detailed frame construction and mass manufacturing.
So our overall approach was to create something that could be replicatable every single time with precision. And right now there are other people working on very, very elaborate coil designs using 3D printing machines and basically creating solid structures with grooves in them. We found that this approach was more practical. It can piece together very rapidly. It's very cost effective, under $100 per frame. So it's very amazing that you could just piece together something very, very quickly and you have 100% symmetry every time. So that's where we came up with the frame and the wiring algorithm. We think that it's essentially most important to uphold the integrity of the vortex. Just use that vortex energy as a fundamental. It doesn't really matter where the conductors are ending, where they're starting. It's really just about creating that shape and utilizing that shape and the fundamental of vortex energy. So this is the general method of excitation. So in our standard configuration for electrically testing a vortex coil, Channel A and channel B are powered in reverse direction via stereo amplifiers. So we didn't have a chance to set this up yet, but we can talk you through it. Once the resonant frequency is reached, the vortex coil generates a high voltage oscillation, which is perfect for lighting and battery charging. In most cases, the measurements indicate an ability to maintain current while amplifying voltage by at least a factor of 10. So what we see is we have 30 volts going into the coil. We have 130 volts coming out of the coil.
So if you're able to input 30 volts into my system using the Nunez method, technically we would get around that output. Right now, we're not able to amplify that with our system at the moment, but I do have a desk, a bench workbench power supply. If I can figure out how to get that working with a tone generator, I can definitely do some more experimenting with this system before I get the equipment for the Bedini circuit. Nathan might be able to help me out with that, or Mike. But I believe I could just attach the negative and the positive of the power supply to like the audio cables for the tone generator for my laptop, and then also attach that to the
you need a trigger circuit.
Trigger circuit.
Cost
So
you
explain
about $5 on Amazon.
Okay, so explain to me what a trigger circuit does.
It takes your higher voltage, 0 to 30 or 0 to 40 volts, and it adds a rider to it. So it adds a 5-volt frequency, whether it be PWM or whatever you want. You put music on there, anything. It's like I said, they sell a bunch of them, like $5-10 Amazon.
And then that way I can use the power supply with the tone generator.
Yeah, so it keeps your voltage side, the voltage, and just adds on to it without anything feeding back. So it won't kill your stuff. That's the whole reason to use it. The way you're going to do it, you're going to blow everything up.
Yeah, so I have this. Let me pull it up just to make sure it's the right one, and then I'll order it, and then we'll at some point, I guess you'll walk me through the process of hooking it up, or just explain it. But I'm sure it's not that difficult. Let me pull it up real quick. Is this?
I appreciate this stuff. I learned so much from this. It's amazing.
I know, me too. It's awesome.
I'm not one of these people, and so it's like, oh, this is actually really fascinating. But what's actually going on here? So yeah,
it's real science and community learning and sharing. It's what it's all about.
Correct. Thank you, Bernie.
Trigger circuit. Here we go. Is this what you're talking about, Nathan?
1 second.
Also building a future.
Those are timer circuits right there.
Sorry, what was that?
Time delay.
I was saying it's also building a trustable team for a big project. Like when one of us is going to get like a big old grant, you need people that you could trust, that you've been working with and communicating with, for a while. And this is the group.
Yes, Ben.
I can build all your graphics. So
this one,
bring it on.
Right.
Yeah, that's the cheaper one, and if you need more voltage than that, they have a bigger one.
You know what? Since it's gonna multiply the voltage output, I might need a bigger one, right? Because this is 36 volts max.
Yeah, I'd get the biggest one you can, and then you see, here's the thing: you see the little blue tabs that you're looking at. The main voltage goes through there. So all it is the positive and negative, and the voltage goes through there. There's two little holes on the opposite side of it, and all they do is that's where your PWM goes in and a 5-volt trigger. So
I'm looking for the more the higher voltage ones. Let's see, dual high MOS transistor driving.
Hey Ben, look at my camera. It looks just like this.
Oh, here, let me pull you up. How the heck do I pull you up? Oh, like that. Okay. Solo layout. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger than the one that I was looking at.
Yep. You see the power MOSFETs are right here. Those two.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You got a big capacitor right there.
Yeah.
I'm
So
just looking for it on here. I'll find it. It's on here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Got it.
you have to pull up your screen now, Ben.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go, up to 60 volts.
Yes. This will be perfect.
You see where it says PWM and ground? That's all you got to hook in on your. You can use your phone. You can use anything you want. Frequency generator. That's it. And then the hot and cold just come out like normal. It just passes through the system right there and collects collects something. Yeah.
So this is where the power, the right here is where the power supply would attach to it.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. It says right there, ground and PWM on the low switch, and then on the other side, it'll be the bigger voltage.
So are these 2 channel outs? Is that what I'm seeing here? There's two outs.
Okay, on the left side, you're seeing an in and out for basically positive and negative. Okay, they put your positive and negative from your voltage, your power supply, and then put the out to whatever you're going to. And then the other side, all you do is connect into your tone generator or whatever you have, your amplifier, and that's it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That sounds simple.
It's just a rider circuit. It basically rides a frequency on top of whatever you got.
Yeah. And then you just put the tone generator in one of these outputs. Nice.
Yeah. So the best thing about it is it doesn't give you feedback to your tone generator or your amplifier or anything else.
So I'm not going to blow anything up. No, that's good. It's good. It's
exactly what you have to have, and they're cheap.
Yeah, it's only $7.99. Yeah, no, I'll get this, and this will be a good experiment for next time because this will be a nice small step towards the phase 2 testing because it's going to take me a minute to get all the parts for that one. So we can have some fun in the meantime. Let's sorry, we went off on a small sidetrack there, but let's go back to we're gonna go back to the.
Sorry, I helped round that anyway.
Right on.
I'm learning. It's advancing. No apologies necessary.
I'm just super fascinated by all these subjects. Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, you can see here they have the Nunez circuit, or the Nunez method, as I call it, compared to the closed circuit method on the left. And this diagram was actually very hard to find. It was on their website, unlinked, but it's in the do-it-yourself guide if you're interested in getting a closer look.
Now, what's happening to the amperage is the question, because a lot of these Tesla technologies, they step up voltage, but at the expense of current. You have no current. You have high voltage, but no current. There's no power there. So what this is doing is it's compensating maybe 10 milliamps of current, no more. So what we're seeing is at least a doubling of how much energy is coming out of the coil versus what's going into it, which is groundbreaking news. And
I believe what he was saying there is that he's experiencing a small, decrease in current on the output side, right? Whereas the system that I'm running, I don't know, because again, there's a couple of differences between my system and the Nunez's. I experienced the North Pole. They said that they never experienced the North Pole. And this, I'm getting a thing in my headphones saying it needs to charge.
That will happen 7 hours and 20 minutes in.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, they're saying that because their voltage is much higher than yours. So
that might be okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
If they're saying they're getting 100 volts out, they're talking about milliamps coming out with it. So you basically have a high voltage line where you're going to experience, what's that stuff? Ion wind and stuff like that. That's going to be starting to come out of this thing.
So that makes sense, and that's where the draw comes from a little bit. So until you reach that high voltage, you probably will see the current just be relatively the same.
Yeah, current's very, very low in these systems. As a matter of fact, the more current you have, the worse they work.
I prefer to call it a pressure wave instead of an ion wind.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I don't know what ions are anyway. I mean,
I'm going to
electrons or something.
Put my headphones in the charger real quick.
Plasma wind, maybe.
Like
ion wind. Ionized gases, plasma.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
ion
the
wind.
pressure wave is definitely
right?
I have an ion in the morning, but we won't talk about that.
No, ion wind is something
pressure
different.
field might coalesce or what's the word? Consolidate. A pressure field will consolidate ions probably, but it's not the source of whatever the high voltage pulse you give the coil is creating. It's not. It's the ion wind or whatever is a byproduct of the source of the result of that high voltage pulse. Which I think is a pressure wave, not ion wind. I think it's a pressure wave, but
but in the circuit, it's leakage. In this circuit, it's leakage. So the less of it, the better it is, and you want to capture the energy in the center where the vortex is.
So we have a question. Brendan McNamara asked, curious, have you observed any drop in temperature in the middle of the coils?
Yes.
Yeah, like I know Gerald has. Yeah, and I haven't experienced any drop in temperature, but it hasn't really increased no matter how much I, increase the gain.
You will eventually as you put more energy into it and build them more efficiently, sort of thing.
Yeah, you don't have enough energy in it.
Yeah, that's what you guys were explaining. Like, I just don't have enough energy in it to experience the temperature decrease, but I'm sure we'll get there. With this, if I hook it up to the power supply with this trigger circuit, then we definitely can get there for sure.
It's going into it, which is groundbreaking news, and it allows us to engineer devices on this principle instead of looking at it from the sense of let's give energy here and extract energy here and lose all of that inductive coupling and we waste power. Instead, we're resonating our load with the coil, and we're getting into this understanding of resonance and how much we can actually affect technologies as a result. Some of those testing observations?
Testing observations. Controllable low voltage ozone production, multiple magnetic monopole detection, energy gains using a 1-to-1 ratio.
See the ozone.
Ratio coils.
That's the byproduct of the pressure wave.
Field, bioelectric interaction.
That's the ionic wind.
There's your ionic wind, right? But that's not the source of the.
No, they're saying they have to control it because it's a waste. It's using the energy you want to keep. That's why Gerald puts his in resin.
To avoid creating the ozone is what they're saying?
It avoids creating the ion wind because it doesn't give it an ability to break out.
Mm-hmm.
Break out. What do you mean break out?
Basically, anytime you have wire that has almost no amps, it's prone to leak or jump over to anything else. Any other wire that's next to it, it's just a high voltage jump. So you have to seal it in order for that not to happen.
And stopping the ozone from occurring prevents it from breaking out.
That's right.
Being over and shorting stuff out.
As soon as it gets airborne, it's energy lost.
Oh, so you don't want that, right? So
you don't want
sparks leaving into the air is kind of just for show. You don't really want that, though.
Yeah, you don't want any of that. You want the cold energy right in the center of it, and you don't even want to mess with it. You just want to rob it. It's just like putting the wire down your Tesla coil. All you want to do is rob it. Okay. You want to pull it away from the source and keep it to the side and let the field continue to grow. By the way, they talk about resonance. You know why? Because each one of the coils, since they're almost exactly the same winding, they will resonate together. So you have two frequencies that's just a tiny bit off each other. And as they cross each other, they're going to pulse. So you're going to get a resonant frequency, the maximum value. That's why you're getting amplification in the center.
That is bang on, Nathan.
Right.
On.
Right, and then when you use the open circuit, you're resonating the load as well. So, or the
You have to put the load in phase with.
It's circuit coherence / circuit in resonance. It's one and the same. And it's the state you have to get it into to be able to then pulse it to then get it to get that over unity, right?
That's correct.
Well, when your signals are in phase, you have resonance also.
This is very important stuff.
I don't know if you caught that, but it took everybody a second to like realize the significance of their research. You know, like, they're like, yeah, this coil basically puts out more energy than it takes in, and everybody's like silent, and they're like, yeah, you can start clapping. Like, you know, it's not something that's easily like accepted. You know what I mean? Like, but at least these conferences give people like this a platform. You know.
Well, you know why, and I talk about this when you do high voltage. When you start using amps, you're burning, so that's explosive, right? They're not using amps, so it's implosive. So they're getting cold energy. So that's the biggest difference. All amps do is waste energy.
Interesting. No, that's a good take. I like that. All right, let's continue on.
Bioelectric interactions with the coils. What does that mean? That means that we could literally replace the sound frequency generator with our own bioelectric energy. You can, any one of you, you don't have to have special powers. You can come over, grab the input source with your own bioelectric energy, and your bioelectric energy will trigger a response in this coil to generate high voltage and over unity. Oh, no. That's amazing. So that's just one of those things. And plasma reactors, main problem with the plasma reactors, they have to turn off in 2 minutes. What if we can run our plasma reactors indefinitely without ever overheating?
Phone call.
It's a big deal.
Maximum ozone detection. This is the unification coil rewired. With it, we tested the strength of ozone produced by the vortex coil resonance. On a scale from 1 to 4, each result indicated the maximum concentration of O3. Now this one is the new rewired unification coil. Our frames, this is when we changed our frames for the second time. And if from the research we've done, ozone is made from 7 to 30,000 voltages, and we're getting ozone at a set frequency coming out of the center of this coil.
Maybe 40 volts.
In most cases, O3 is used as a sterilizing agent for water, foods, and high traffic spaces, which are prone to contamination. We use it ourselves in our home. We'll turn on the coil, clear out the air.
And light, but that also consumes a lot of wattage. So what if we were able to create ozone generators using maybe 30 watts of power? What does that mean for sterilizing food, sterilizing water? So many different things. Not only will this coil structure the water, but it will also sterilize it. If
Oh, let me describe it.
To any different type of agriculture purpose.
Did you say it was growing at an angle?
It grew literally at an angle,
What
yes.
What degree? I couldn't see.
It was away our magnetic. So it just shows that's.
I'm skipping over a couple parts.
We can do right here with this.
Thank you.
We can show that when this coil is
Can't get
on,
them health
and actually
strikes.
this one's driving, so we could see that we're at max potential, and as we go away, our magnetic field is tapering down. So
Should be good for a minute.
This actually, the last slide indicated the same exact thing, which was the linear slope. So the wheatgrass that was close. Nightlight that was. This is where it all started.
All right, this is the part.
We don't see it finishing here.
Oh, is this the growing?
This is where it all began, and when we finally got.
Yeah, so this is their origin story basically, and how they got into all this research and all that. The nightlight story, and this is one of my favorite stories because it just resonates with me personally because you know, the lighting and electricity is so expensive, you know, especially if you're in specific areas where, you know,
Anywhere in the world today since they created the freaking Russian energy embargo and exponential inflation that's happened over the last few years.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's just, any way of saving money, or for me personally, is a good thing to look into. So that's where part of where I came in. Like, if I can, maybe make something to save me some energy or whatever. But at any rate, I don't think I'm going to hook it up to the grid, because that's a bad idea. I don't recommend you hooking any free energy device up to the grid. After researching it thoroughly, anybody who hooks these things up to the grid immediately gets a phone call or a raid by, like, just ask John Searle. But
not good.
Yeah.
Got that accomplished. This is 3/4 of a watt, putting out 1,300 plus lumens. And
What's it normally?
what it would
They're
be
not
normally
compatible with
is
grid.
maybe around the same consumption, but a lot less intensity. So we're getting much more intensity.
Philips currently has 200 lumens for 1 watt of power. So we have 0.75 for 1,300.
You had said that obviously you can touch it, you can power the coil ourselves.
Amplified with an amplifier, of course, yes.
She just said 200 lumens for 1 watt of power, and they're at 1,300 for 0.75. That's a significant gain. Yeah.
$1,300 lumens for under a watt.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's pretty cool.
LED you buy at the store is, 10 watts gets you, maybe 15 watts gets you that. A 15 watt LED will get you that kind of lumens. 10 or 12 watts, around there.
Yes. Well, what you're talking about with the peach tree, we had a peach tree. We resonated the whole cavity of the tree in order to move to the far reaches of the tree to the. So thank you. So this is conserve power while producing power. This has got to be one of the most low-hanging fruits that are available right now. This is
the area that I'm interested in specifically.
With the 14-gauge PoE coil, can handle 1 kilowatt of power for the purpose of energy conservation. By feeding energy through the coil in opposing directions, we attain a 10 to 15% savings of total power consumption with a minor temperature drop of 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, using the focused magnetic potential, we spun a magnetic shaft above it, essentially illuminating 192 LEDs with the pickup energy that was being generated by the spinning magnetic energy. What does that mean? That means that we can feed energy through this coil using the energy that we're already using right now in this room. Just feed the energy through the coil, and now you can have a generator that runs off of the energy that we're already using. So why not maximize the energy that we're already consuming in a very simple way? So this is not just one coil we're talking about. We can build generators around the energy that we're already consuming. It's all pulsing at 60 hertz. Why not generate more with what we're already consuming? So that's the concept here. So 10 degrees Fahrenheit, for those of you who are not aware, it's not very much of a drop at all in temperature. So 10 to 15% savings. You save on your power bill, produce more power.
Vortex coil plasma excitation. This was an experiment using the PoE coil to excite our previous plasma tube using the electromagnetic compression of the center hole. At under 50 volts of input power, we are able to yield enough output voltage to power a 400-volt xenon tube, while providing charge to the central plasma ring in the process. This concept can be scaled for electrode-less lamp technologies or advanced plasma reactor designs, which maintain a cool temperature instead of overheating.
So it was heartbreaking at first to take apart that coil that took us 2 months to construct. So we actually had to take out that plasma tube. You see it right through the center now. How did we know that would work? Well, we took a fluorescent tube while we were driving the vortex coil at its most resonant point, and we put it right in the center. And you could see that the gas was wanting to excite just around the inner diameter. So then we figure, okay, well, If the gas is wanting to excite on its own, then why not just take out that old plasma tube and wind the coil around just so that it's two rings intertwined? It makes perfect sense. And if this were to be scaled up, it touches right back on what we were saying before. Plasma is used for healing. It's used for power production. It's used for a host of different things. And a lot of people are making great breakthroughs right now with plasma. So why not use coils that cool themselves down? So resonance, again, resonance.
1 to 7.6 step up, step down Tesla vortex transformer. This is our combination of Tesla's alternating